Mic check, life check. With Haley Jensen. Hello and welcome back. It has been a minute, unintentionally, intentionally, unintentionally, mostly because we went to San Diego, which was so fun, and I'm so excited to unpack all the things. When I got back, I intended on recording pretty quickly. We had a bunch of technical difficulties, which made things a little tricky, but we are back nevertheless. So excited to be here today. So let's get into it. Obviously, it has been a long time coming that it took a lot out of me and into me. It took a lot of getting through anxiety to plan, book, and go on this vacation. We have been married for probably 5 years now, and my child is about 14 months, and we had not gone on an actual vacation since I was pregnant with him, and that was actually our honeymoon cruise that we didn't go on when we actually got married because of the pandemic. So we had this cruise credit for a couple of years. We had gone to Vegas and for like a little getaway, I believe a couple years after the start of the pandemic. And so we did that, and that felt fun and special because that was kind of our first like hotel that we had ever been in together. It's honestly such a weird concept. The pandemic really put a wrench in everything because it literally was 2 years later that we stayed in a hotel for the first time after living together as a married couple. It was so weird. Anyway, but it was fun. And so Vegas was good, but keep in mind, I live in Utah, and so Vegas is not that far away. I've been to Vegas a couple times throughout my life. It's obviously nothing special, although I will say it has gotten a lot cleaner since the last time I went. Sorry, not for that little vacation, but before then, when I was a teenager and I went with my family, we pretty much didn't do anything. I don't even think we went to a show or anything when I went with my family, but I think we were just going to say that we were on the strip and we walked on the strip. I don't know. But back then, I remember it was absolutely gross and like everything was just dirty, grimy, smoky. There was just like obviously the favorite little flapper cards, if you know, you know, on the ground and like everywhere. And so it was kind of just a walking magazine ad for a very special kind of magazine. Anyway, so that was back how I knew Vegas. But then we went on our trip when we had been married for a couple of years, and we went and saw Six, which is the Broadway musical, which was fantastic. I absolutely loved it. 10 out of 10 would recommend. They were phenomenal. But besides the show, we had a bunch of really good food. We went to the Guy Fieri's restaurant. Where else did we go? I can't remember. It was a while ago. But I remember we had a lot of good food. We actually did a lot of touristy things, which was a little silly. But the reason why is because we had to. We were kind of a pretty newly married couple. And yeah, so we did the whole like boat thing, like the little canoes, and it was cute and checked off the bucket list, so I can say that I did that. Paid aggressively over too much for that. I think it was like $60 or something. But anyway, it was cute though. And I remember when we did the boat ride, the guy who pushed the boat, I don't want to misquote this. Okay, I googled it because my brain was failing me. So it's the gondola rides, and I googled it, and apparently it was $40. It was not $60, but to me that back then felt like a lot of money. So anyway, we did the gondola rides, and it was so cute. Anyway, this is turning into a Vegas recap, which we'll move on. But overall, the Vegas trip was fun for what it was in its time. It wasn't that fantastic of a like super getaway, super vibey. It was Vegas, but the show and the food was amazing. So definitely was great for a little getaway, but nothing fantastic. But we were like halfway or 3/4 into this pandemic, and so like we were all wearing masks. It was actually super cute. The gondola, that was what I was getting at. The gondola driver, the guy that pushes the boat around with the stick, he was so cute because you can do the gondola ride on the inside it's not Caesar's Palace. I don't remember what it's called, but you can do the gondola ride inside the Venetian resort, or you can do it on the outside. And we did it on the outside because it's a little more outdoor vibey. And anyway, but it was really cute because the worker, he was like, we're not supposed to sing because of the pandemic, I'm assuming because of spit flying around. But he was so cute because there's this part where you go into the bridge and he leaned over, wanted to duck to not hit the bridge on the top of his head. But he's like, but I'm going to sing a little bit for you. And so he like softly sung in Italian. It was so cute. And then it was really funny because he saw that I was filming, just my husband and I. But he was like, now kiss. And we're like, okay. And so I don't think we were wearing masks. Maybe I think he was just wearing a mask. I don't remember. But anyways, it was really cute. So for the touristiness of it all, it was cute. It was worth it. And it was good in its time. But the San Diego trip was so much fun. I had so many nerves. I was stressed out because we were bringing our baby/toddler. And I had never traveled with a child before. All I will say is, and I feel like a lot of moms understand this, is that when you are trying to entertain your child in your own home, in your own space, they get bored really quick because it's super familiar. And so I think that's like one of the life hacks is getting out of the house, because one, your child, I mean, I won't promise this, but will probably act out a little bit less because they're more distracted, or they'll be overstimulated and it'll be worse. But my experience, my child, I have found that if we go to new places, he is more interested in what's going on because he's not used to it. He's not surrounded by the same four walls pretty much. And I should have kind of figured that out going into this trip, but I was so stressed beforehand and thought that it was just going to be so difficult. And when packing even, I was like, I don't even know how many diapers to bring because, some weeks are bad. Like some weeks you're like, I think my child has a stomach bug, or he just ate too many apples, or so it's just, yeah. So it's kind of hard to plan because it's super unpredictable. But my husband was sweet, and he was just like, they literally have Walmarts. They literally have whatever you need. We can go buy it. And I'm like, okay. And that made me feel a lot better going into this. And it was funny because actually right before we left, we got like an entire like flat pack from Costco. So if you buy diapers from Costco, depending on just the Kirkland brand, comes in like a 3-pack of like a whole flat thing of diapers. And so we grabbed one of them, and it must have been like 36 plus diapers. I don't know. Anyway, we were only there for like 4 days. And I'm like, yeah, we're going to bring this whole thing. And so then like right before we left, I looked at him, I was like, I think we're planning for too many diapers here. And he's like, I think so too. But anyway, so it worked out well though, because we planned actually relatively perfectly and had a couple, like probably 7 diapers to spare, something. So it worked out really well. Anyway, so when it came to packing, I am a chronic overpacker, and we recently got the Delta credit cards, and so that was nice because we were flying Delta, but we were able to get each a bag checked, so that helped out a lot too. And the chronic overpacking that I would say that was done is that I am a preparation queen, that I want to be prepared in any sort of emergency, like hang nail. I got it. I got nail clippers, which that sounds pretty minor, but like even before we left, I'm asking my husband, I'm like, are your nails clipped? So that we don't have to worry about that on the trip, but nevertheless, I will still bring the nail clippers because you never know. So that's just kind of the example. And it's funny because my mom's a flight attendant, and so when I was telling her all of our packing details anyway, she was saying, oh my gosh, like, you're only going to be gone a couple days. You only need to carry on, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, okay, yes, normally, but I have a child, and children come with so many gadgets and gizmos. For example, there was a pretty high chance that we would be swimming and going to the beach for one of the days. And so babies, toddlers, need swim diapers. And then it was, oh, well, we should get this entire body rash guard kind of thing so that we don't have to worry about sunscreen and his skin will be protected. Okay, but then there's like, okay, but what if we go swimming multiple days and we need to make sure that he has a dry swimsuit, an extra one, just in case. And then it's like, okay, well, what if he goes to a splash pad at SeaWorld or whatever, or water park? So now I'm looking at a rash guard, some boxer brief short things, and 2 different swim cover-up diapers. Because if you just wear the diaper, I don't know. I'm not saying it's tacky. I just would prefer to cover my child in another clothing material as well. And it's cute, aesthetic-wise. And so, but then I'm at the same time, I'm like, okay, but what if, because these are reusable diapers, he poops in one of them and then it's going to be stinky because I don't have a great way to wash it, whatever. So now I have reusable diapers that not reusable, regular diapers, throwaway diapers, and that are swim diapers. I have regular diapers. Anyway, long story short, lots and lots of things. And I'm a chronic overplanner. But I will say is that we didn't forget a single thing on the trip. So pat on the back for me on that, because in the past we definitely have. And so that part was successful, but yes, we ended up not using a ton of things. There was things in our suitcase that weren't even touched because we didn't need them. But at the same time, it was good because they were there. But quite honestly, if someone would have broken a bone or had a major cut on their arm or something, we would have been probably pretty good. So that's off to me. All right, so itinerary. So we left in the afternoon, I believe, on Thursday. And that part was a hoot and a half. So basically, long story short, we get to the airport, and the pride and joy of being a married female when it comes to changing your name is that you get to run into roadblocks constantly. And so that's fun. So how it kind of worked is before I got married, my maiden name, I'd gotten a passport when I was 17, 18, because my family went to Europe, and that was fun. That was a good little trip. And that was my maiden name. And so when I got the passport, it was good for 5 years. And so anyway, that crossed over, believe it or not, from when I got married, 21, and we wanted to go on our cruise. I was probably 23, I think so. And so when we went to go on our cruise, you needed a passport. And passports are expensive. It's a bit of a application process. Looking back, I should have just changed it back then. But we were using the years that the passport was good for because, I don't know. Anyway, so back then on the honeymoon cruise that we went to, not on our honeymoon, but 2 years later, we used my maiden name. And so fast forward back to San Diego trip, at this point in time, I had gotten a new passport with my married name, and my maiden name is no longer really relevant. My driver's license is my married name. And so when we went to book this trip, it was all with my married name, because last time I checked, I am now married name full time. And for the foreseeable future and hopefully forever. And we get to the airport. We go to the Delta check-in where you drop off your bags. You get checked in with the agent, yada, yada, yada. And the line for Delta was at least an hour, I would say. It was a pretty long line, and it was the afternoon, which makes sense because that's more desirable travel, middle of the day, yada yada. But that was okay because we arrived the airport, I think, 2.5 hours early because, you gotta do that. And so we get through this line, we're chilling. My child's in a stroller. He's a little fussy, a little fidgety through this hour line, and I'm just feeding him Cheerios, and he's being happy. And we're excited. We're happy to be there. We just got to get through security. We got to get on the plane, and then we'll be on vacation, really. And so we get through all the way through Delta. Everything looks good. They scan my little ticket, and they're like, all right, we can check your bag. They check our bags, and they send us off to security. And so we get to security. This is the fun part, which keep in mind, my mom, the flight attendant, she had warned me, even though I saw this in the news, but she just definitely re-warned us because she's like, this is my life, that they started doing the Real ID, which is the little gold star on your driver's license. It's just an extra security measure that you're legit and that you need a Real ID to travel. And that started, I think, May 9th or something. And so it'd been pretty much a month that this been going on. So not really a shock value to anyone. It wasn't something that was being implemented that day. So the process of things working smoothly within the airport, fine and dandy. So anyway, I have my Real ID that I've had for probably a couple of years now, and it has a little gold star on it, and everything's set. Everything's booked through my married name. My ticket says married name. My ID says married name. Yeah. So I go give them my driver's license, and they put it in their little scan machine, and the guy kind of stops, and he looks at me, and he's like, this says this name. And I'm like, oh, well, that's my maiden name. But in my brain, and as I kind of tell him, that shouldn't matter because here's my ID, here's my face, and here's my ticket that was booked under my married name. Everything is married name here. Last time I checked, the maiden name chick doesn't even exist. And why does that matter? Because maiden name chick is not getting on the plane. Married name, anyway. So he looks at me, and I explain that, and he kind of just looks at me, and I'm like, okay, so how can I fix this? And he's like, oh, well, you have to go back up to the Delta counter. And I'm like, huh? And actually, sorry, before he said that, he said, oh, well, do you have your maiden name? Do you have your marriage license or anything or something that has your maiden name on it? And so at this point, I'm just pulling out my wallet and trying to find random cards that have an old card that I haven't used for years that has my maiden name on it. And I'm not finding anything official because it needs to be a government provided or documented thing. And yeah, so it's not working. And so then he's just like, yeah, you need to go up to the Delta counter. And I'm like, huh? We literally sat in that line for over an hour, just waiting and biding our time and being good citizens. And now you're telling me I got to go do that again. And here we are now working down the clock timer of an hour and a half before our flight leaves. And I'm like, what? And my husband's right there. And my baby's right there. And my husband is a sweetheart, and he's always stressed out as is, and now this is happening. And keep in mind, I'm a lot better. He's good in general, with day-to-day stuff, but when it comes to out of the normal confrontation, that's where I wouldn't say I thrive, but I'm a lot better at it just naturally. And yeah, so what irritated me the most is that I did all my paperwork correct, and this at this point is something that is completely out of my control. As far as I know, it's the TSA side, it's Delta's side. There's physically nothing I can do because I did not put my maiden name anywhere. It's something that they have on their side that has been associated with me in the past, and it's not, I don't know, overriding with the new stuff, my married name. I don't know. But keep in mind, because the last time that I had traveled was with the passport that had my maiden name on it. And so I believe that the system was recognizing that and choosing not to exist or to recognize my driver's license with the Real ID on it and with my married name. So I'm just like, okay, well, let me go do this. And so I go upstairs and I'm looking at this Delta line, which is even longer now since the first time that we went through it. And so not trying to sound entitled or anything, I just look at the facts. I have been through this line and I don't want to go through it again. Like, we're at a time crunch, and situationally, like, this is something that is not even my fault. This is, I would like to say, Delta's fault. And yeah. So we were at this time of the story, and we're still not, to be honest. We are not priority Delta or whatever the specialty program is. We're just regular Delta people. And so they have like a specialty priority Delta check-in line, and that line didn't have a line. But they definitely had their own like little check-in machines that you could print out your boarding pass and whatever. And there was a woman working in it. And so I go up to her and I'm pushing my stroller, my baby in the stroller, and I am just stressed out. I'm sure she could see that from a mile away. And I walk up to her and say, hey. And I tell her what is going on with my maiden name, blah, 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 that I think it's part of Delta's system. And she looks at me and she's a sweetheart. And she's like, pretty much like, I just work here. I have no power. And I'm like, okay, do you have any suggestions for me? And she's like, I mean, you could try to talk to one of the red vest Delta supervisors. And I'm like, okay. And so I'm just glancing around, and at the front of the line, obviously on the opposite side of where the Delta check stands are, where the workers are, I see like one of these red vest people, and she's helping one of the other Delta regular employees. And keep in mind, this big long line is staring at me from the left, and I'm like, okay, so this will be fun. So, like I said, not trying to act entitled. I feel like I did my due diligence with waiting in the line once, so I actually go through the exit of where people normally walk out after they've gone through the line, talked through the gate agents, get their stuff done. Yeah. Anyway, so I just kind of push my baby stroller up that way, and I'm like, okay. So I'm just waiting for the opportunity that I see that this red vest supervisor is available. And circumstantially, she actually had stopped helping the Delta employee. I think that she was no longer needed. And so she goes and moves over to a empty kiosk so where she can print out boarding passes. So I don't know if she was jumping on to also help. I don't know if she was looking into something. I don't know. But I walked right up to her, and I could tell she was not about it, because she was like, you need to wait in the line. And I'm like, I have. Love to, but I have done that already. And I was like, obviously the way I said it, I was just like, I promise I totally have. I was just down at TSA, and I explained to her what the issue was. And she was nice. I could tell her heart was a little softened, because I don't know if it's because I had a kid with me or whatever. I don't know. And she was just like, okay, yeah, like, honestly, though, you do need to wait in the line. So I'm like, okay, I get it. I'm sorry. But, like, I don't have time for this. My flight is leaving in an hour and a half. I got here 2.5 hours early. Like, I didn't tell her this, of course. But I'm just like, I played the game correctly, and it is out of my control. Literally, you are the expert. You need to go pew, pew, pew on your little keyboard and figure this out. Please. And so anyway, so she's looking at it, and she's doing whatever witchcraft on her side, and she looks at me and she's like, it says, and she says my married name. It says your married name on here, which is what everything's correctly booked as. And so I'm looking at her, I'm like, ha ha ha. So now you're telling me I'm just on a wild goose chase, and now I gotta go back to TSA and tell them that Delta said that it was actually not Delta's fault, but TSA's fault. I don't know what's going on. And so I then rush back down, because it's a different floor, keep in mind. I had taken the escalator down with the stroller once already. And then we're back up to Delta, and now I gotta go back down. And at this point, my husband took my baby for diaper change, probably just to give me one less thing to do, because he was trying to help where he could. But anyway, I mean, it was truly just my issue at this point, and it was easier if I was riding solo. And so I run back down to TSA, and I was just hoping, for one, I wouldn't get the same TSA guy. Like, to each their own. I don't know if he was in a bad mood that day. He just wasn't interested in helping me, and that's great, I guess. But with the situation, I needed someone that actually would be interested in helping. And so thank goodness. I think he must have got on his break or something. And I don't know. But I got a different gal. And I literally walked up to her and I was like, I don't know if this is going to work. And like, I briefly told her. And she's taking my ID out this and she scans it. And she's like, yeah, it looks good on this side. Like, yeah, that's your married name, right? She says my married name. I'm like, what is happening? And so I don't know if the Delta chick did an override upstairs. I don't know, because she didn't say that she did. And so now, for some reason, it's working. And I'm like, great. There's another 45 to an hour of my stress wasted. I don't know. Anyway, it works. I call my husband, tell him we get through the security TSA checkpoint. Keep in mind, we've not taken off our shoes and gone through the scanner yet. So we do that. We take off our shoes, go through the scanner, and just our luck, we go through and they're scanning our just like backpacks and stuff. And apparently the scanner we chose had a malfunction and somebody's stuff got stuck. And so it was just shooting out all the things that were supposed to be scanned, but they weren't being scanned through the other side. And so they were like, hey, like, don't grab your stuff yet. We need to send these back through. And we're like, okay. I've never had so many things go wrong back to back to back and traveling in the airport ever. So it was great. So we then got to wait an additional like 30 minutes for everyone to get their stuff rescanned. We're all standing there. And then they were all manually checking the bags because I don't know if they just didn't trust their system that it was going through properly. I think it probably was just like a second double check. And so then they go manually check all of them. Like normally that only happens when you have a flag because like let's say you left a water bottle full of water in your bag and they're like, oh, we got to scan. Like I got to go check what this is. No, they're checking every bag anyway. And so that's great. And keep in mind, this is all with cute little baby toddler we're pushing around here, and he's just kind of irritated at this point because he's like, what are we doing? Good question. And so anyway, we eventually get through TSA. And a little part of the story that I didn't mention. So my mom, obviously, is a flight attendant. She works out of this airport, and she was a sweetheart, and she drove us to the airport. That way we didn't have to worry about Ubering or parking our car, racking up a bunch of fees, leaving our car at the airport. And so she drove us, sweetheart. Anyway, so she dropped us off, but before she had dropped us off, when I was packing, she had mentioned that she had a car seat cover or stroller bag that you can do for gate check. It just covers, it kind of keeps things nice. Maybe protects your stroller or whatever a little bit better. And she had a brand new one. I don't know if she got it like thrifting or something. She likes to thrift a lot. She's awesome that way because she gets our baby boy lots of clothes and he looks very stylish thanks to her. Anyway, she had this thing, and so we had initially gone to my parents' house before we left for the airport, and she's like, hey, let me get you this bag, blah, blah, blah. So we drive to the airport, and we realize as we get out that we forgot the car seat cover bag. Actually, it was for the stroller. And so yeah, keep in mind, the airport's a good like 15 plus minutes away from my parents' house, which isn't that crazy. But in the scheme of things, like that's a lot of driving for no reason, 15 minutes one way. So that's like 30 minutes for the whole trip, blah, blah, blah. So we're going through all these security airport shenanigans, and I get a text from my mom after we get through security, after all this security shenanigans, and she says, hey, where are you in the airport? And I'm like, huh? And so I call her, and I'm like, and I knew that she has pass, so she can get in the airport past security anytime she wants because she works there. And so, like, she doesn't need a ticket. Most people need to buy a ticket to even get that far. And so I call her, and she's like, yeah, so I'm actually in the airport. And I'm like, why? And she was a sweetheart. She drove home, got the car seat cover protector, stroller protector thing, and drove back just for that. And it was very unnecessary. Like, we were just going to take the L and either take the stroller on the plane, like, with us, or just have it put underneath and just let it be kind of if it gets bumped around or banged up, so be it. I mean, it was a cheaper stroller. It was just from Costco, but it was just a travel stroller, right? And so we were just gonna take the L on that one. And so anyway, she's a sweetheart. She drove all the way back just to give us that, and I really appreciated it. She was awesome for that. And so anyway, I was just laughing. So I call her and she's like, yeah, went to go get that. And I'm like, you're kidding. You're kidding. That was so nice. Thank you. And so she meets us past security, meets up with us, brings us the stroller back. And so then we have still, I think, about like 45 minutes to an hour before our plane actually leaves. And so keep in mind, I have a little stroller baby. And so we're just doing laps. So we are doing laps around the airport, around the moving sidewalks, whatever, for my child's entertainment, for, I guess, me probably to shake off a little bit of stress from all the crap that we had just gone through. And so I'm just like power walking, and I'm a fast walker in general. So I'm sure it looked very entertaining for those that were people watching us, because I was just doing these vicious stroller laps around the moving sidewalk things. But yeah, so then we're just chatting it up, and I'm telling her exactly what was going on, and yada yada. So that was the prequel to the flight. So we board the plane, and at this point we are very nervous for what is about to ensue. Obviously, I've never seen my child, baby, toddler on an airplane. I don't know if he's gonna freak out. I don't know if he's gonna sleep. I don't know what's gonna happen. So, naturally, I do breastfeed, and so I was told that that's the best thing to do, give him something to eat or drink as the flight is taking off as well as landing. So that was the plan. And so, naturally, when we sat down, there's the Delta screens in the back of the chairs, and so he's sitting on my husband's lap, and he's just, like, slapping the screen, which, thankfully, like, he wasn't annoying the person as far as I could see in front of us, and we were definitely grabbing his hands and like trying to soft hands, like not trying to irritate anyone around. But anyway, so I forgot, right before we sat down, so we sat down and my husband's in the aisle seat, I'm in the middle seat, and the seat next to the window is empty, but we knew it was booked because we looked online. And so we're like, okay, well, hopefully the person's chill / it'll be okay that we have a baby and they don't have to freak out too much or anything. Anyway, so then we boarded first, and so then the gentleman eventually comes along, and it's an older gentleman, definitely like rich guy vibes from who has his beach house from San Diego. He was wearing this gorgeous blazer. He had a Cartier ring. Like he was fancy smancy. Anyway, so then fast forward, pretty soon after we took off, he kind of fell asleep and was dozing like the majority of the flight. I mean, the flight was only like an hour and 40 minutes long. But anyway, so he pretty much went to sleep pretty quickly. But anyway, as we were sitting and just flying along, I was holding all of my baby's appendages away from him as far as possible, just because like I wouldn't want him to swing and hit this guy, especially while he was sleeping. But yeah, overall, ended up feeding my child, and he did pretty well. He didn't cry at all. There was just a couple times when he's a little fussy. He's like, what's going on? Like, let me at him. Like, let me walk around, move around. I don't know. So we were holding him, and we'd brought toys and distractions and whatnot. Overall, he did really well. Like, he didn't scream. Like, I would bet that a lot of people don't even know we had a baby toddler that was like a row or two behind them. So 10 out of 10. Good job, toddler baby. And so then when we landed, same thing, fed him on when we went down. And the guy woke up and he looked over at us as we were pulling into our gate. And he looks at us and he's like, that is the most well-behaved child I've ever seen on an airplane. And I'm like, thank you. We were so proud. And it was such a compliment from this gentleman. And it was funny because up until this point, I wasn't going to say that he was like being judgmental or quiet, but like he was keeping him to himself. Like whether he was judgy or not, irrelevant. Like, he's just keeping to himself. And anyway, so when he said that, I was so proud. And it was cute because he kept talking to him. He's like, yeah, you're a good baby, huh? You did so well. Like, and so much so that my child then was reaching over at him and like smiling. And he's like, oh, you're a smiley baby. And it was so cute. And then my child was like giving him high fives. And then eventually it was like trying to have him hold him. And I was like, if you're welcome to hold him if you want. And so then this stranger gentleman was holding him and hanging out and playing with him. And so then it was time for us to get up and leave. And he's like, well, it's been a pleasure. Like, I hope you have a good trip. Da 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 da. And like, he lives there. And so he was also telling us about like his suggestions for where to go and what to do. And so it was very sweet on the way over. The guy on the way back, I probably won't touch it on the way back, but he was kind of a grump a little bit. I don't know. He kept like, when I say coughing, like he was like hacking. And I was like, oh gosh, like, I don't think he was sick. I think it was just his natural thing. But anyway, we didn't let our child bother him either, but he wasn't as friendly. Anyway, so we land. Oh my gosh, the chronicles continue. So, as I was telling my husband at this point, I was like, we cannot go on a trip and have any sort of relaxation because I swear every corner, we would run into something else. The next thing is we went to our rent-a-car and we had booked a child car seat ahead of time because we didn't want to bring our own. And so we booked the car, which that part was easy. So then the guy hands us like this perfectly laundered car seat. I was actually really impressed. Naturally, when I first thought about it, I thought it was going to be really gross. And like, ew, like 50 billion people have used these car seats, like da da da. But it was like fresh as a daisy laundered. And I was like, oh, this is actually really nice. Anyway, but it was an older version that I wasn't really familiar with. And anyway, so I was just like, okay, like, yeah, we'll figure it out. Because our car seats have, I don't know, does our current one have a base? I don't know. I know we had the infant one that was like a bucket seat and had a base. I'm not sure if our current one does actually. That's so funny now that I think about it. I should probably know that. Anyway, but it was an older version, and I guess the base of it just wasn't as clunky as our current one is. And when I say clunky, like, it's wider, more secure, more platformy. This one was very rigid, like fixed curved edges, and was like the least amount of car seat as possible, if that makes sense, on the back part where like the black plastic is. And anyway, so we get this car seat, and I'm feeling pretty confident. I'm like, I usually can figure out things pretty well, pretty quick. And so we get to where our car is, and my husband starts loading our luggage and holding our baby, and I took it upon myself just to start trying to figure out this car seat. And so I start to install it, and I'm doing the seatbelt wraparound latch system, whatever. And for the life of me, I can't get the car seat to kind of be at a diagonal. It's like horizontal, where the baby's basically laying back looking at the ceiling. And I say baby, he's like a toddler, and he's a tall toddler. It's funny, we actually just got back from his 14 or 15 month appointment, and he's 87 percentile for height. He's got long legs as well. And so, one, him just being normally humanly comfortable is a concern of mine, but two, just like, he's not a baby, so it's like he needs to sit up and whatever. So I'm trying to jerry rig this car seat to correctly be at a nice angle where he's not laying all the way back, and one, that's like not safe. But yeah, anyway, it's impossible. I am getting stressed. My husband's getting stressed. I'm using the latch thing correctly. There was a barcode for a QR code on the side of the car seat that says, like, scan me for help install. And I'm like, okay. I scan it, and it says that this barcode has been scanned too many times, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, very helpful. And so then I'm just YouTubing a generic video for, I don't even remember what the brand's called, and I was just finding something to put, like, help me possibly. And so still, I don't know if it was the type of car seat, the type of car that they didn't want to play ball together. I don't know. But we would try to pull the seatbelt taut and tight, and we would like shake the car seat to try to see if it would move, and it would, and it would go whoops daisy, and I'm like, and like flip around, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not putting my child in this. I don't know if it was the car seat. It kind of felt like it at the time. And anyway, so then the funniest thing, very totally legal. The car was parked in the garage, it was far away and like in its little cubby slot where it was supposed to be parked. And so obviously I don't have an installed car seat for my baby, and that's our problem at hand. And so we're just in a little covered parking garage, but I'm holding my baby on my lap while my husband drives, and I'm sitting in the passenger seat. And I'm like, this feels so weird. Like, it's bus. It's like it's like you're in a bus. And anyway, but I swear somebody was like walking by, and they gave me such a look like, why are you holding a baby in the passenger seat? Anyway, if they knew, they would know. But anyway, so then we pull up to the car rental place, and it was a different one. It was like for their priority members, which once again, we are not priority members. And so anyway, so I walk in, and this is a priority lounge, I'm sure, for people to get their coffee or whatever, which is kind of a weird thing. I'm like, get in your car and go, but yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so I walk in, I tell her, and I don't think she was a mom, but maybe she has kid experiences, because I was explaining it to her, and she was kind of nodding. And anyway, so then she's like, well, legally, I can't help you install it, which I'm like, at this point in time, I'm like, I know I probably look like an idiot that I don't know how to install a car seat, but it's like, I've done this a couple times now, and Googled it, and YouTubed it. And that's what she said. She's like, oh, but you can YouTube it. I can't help you install it, blah, blah, blah. And anyway, so then she's like, but I could get you a new car seat. And I'm like, yeah, let's do that. So we get a different one, once again, a lot older of a generation. So I don't know. I don't know if it was a car. It was a Nissan 2025 that they gave us, which was all right. I probably wouldn't buy it for any car of the future for me, but it was okay. Anyway, but I don't know if the seats in the back were like weirdly shaped and they didn't want to get along with the car seat. But yeah, long story short, we ended up getting the second one in the car seat, or in the car, and installed. It didn't move around when we shook it like an earthquake as much. It was better. It wasn't great. So then we kind of were like, well, this is probably the worst thing I've ever done as a parent, but we literally just thought, well, we will drive carefully, and it's better than nothing. And yeah. Anyway, that was not the fun part. I'm sure we installed it wrong. I don't know. But he was a lot more horizontal than he usually is. And so I think by the end of the trip, and like every time we'd put him in there, he's like, I'm gonna go lay down now, because that's where he was kind of just lay. Anyway, it was a thing. I'm sure we'll get him next time, I guess. We'll figure it out better next time, but it was just so humid and stressful, and yeah, it was just a lot in the moment. So then we get to our hotel, which thankfully, super easy check-in, great room, no complaints there. Except for, I think it was like the second to last night before we left. That's when something happened, which we'll get to that. But overall, no complaints there. We dropped off our luggage, and we proceeded to go to a suggested restaurant and Ocean Beach Lookout, very popular touristy place. Dock pier. Which I don't know if I'm just a little weird, but when I called, I wasn't even calling about the reservation. No, it was about asking to see if the hotel had cribs. That was what it is for my toddler. So I'd called the hotel to ask about that, and they said yes, they do, and that they could put it on the reservation, that we wanted one. And I was like, because the guy was really nice, and he was like, oh, is there anything else I can help you with? And I'm like, actually, yeah, because assuming that you were a local, what eat spots do you suggest? And so I wrote down a couple of them, and Hodad's was the first one that he had mentioned was really good. And yeah, so we went, and it was crazy because before we even got in the restaurant, there was like, all I could say, keep in mind, I'm Caucasian, but I would say a white woman brawl, very passionate, kind of gnarly. It wasn't like physical fighting. But anyway, this mom, this very white family mom, Karen probably, she, I guess based on the context, so we showed up or after that she had made her appearance known, I guess, because how I would have described the experience to you. So we walked up and the reservation hostess guy was kind of moving around, moving things here and there. And we walked up at the same time as this other family. So it was this mom and a dad of these two kids, both of them under the age of 5. And they had their kids in, I think it's a Wonderfold wagon, if that's what it's called. And anyway, so they were hungry and ready to get in line for dinner. And so anyway, they walk up, and keep in mind, it looked like they were the next in line and the first in line, because no one else was in line. And so they start talking to the hostess, and this chick comes out of nowhere. She was behind us, like closer to the street curb. And then when she started talking and you kind of looked at it, then you saw the rest of her family, which were out there kind of chilling out there, the dad and then like 3 sons or something like that. And so then she like cuts into their conversation while the hostess is like, oh, hey, like, how can I help you? And to this other family. So family number 1, not Karen's family. So Karen runs in and starts going, we were here, blah, blah, blah. Like, we were told by this girl, yada, yada, yada. Like, we were already here. Excuse me, can you see us first? Like, she was being so, like, aggressive and catty about it. I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I understand being, like, a little upset and being like, yo, we were next in line. Okay, so the best part is that couple number 1, not Karen's family, the dad gets heated because he's like, nah, fam, like, and the funny thing is I don't think he was even fighting for his spot. Like, it's not like he was like, no, we're first, like, we're hungry. I think he was just fighting back because because Karen was being ridiculous. Like, learn how to act in public. But anyway, so Karen's like, we were here first, blah, 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 blah. And I need to give this guy, Jim. Jim is the dad, number 1 family. And so Jim is just like, well, we didn't see you, like, clear as day, saying that to the hostess. And she's like, well, this waitress told us to wait, and so we're just out there waiting. And so the Jim is like, well, maybe you should wait in line then. Like, why are you out there? No one's gonna see you out there. And anyway, so me and my husband are holding our toddler, and we're just laughing, just watching this play out. And obviously not verbally, because we didn't want to be like slapped by Karen or something. But anyway, so it was just hilarious. And even more so in the fact that we had just come from a very stressful day, and we're just trying to get food and chillax and start our vacation, just made it all the funnier. We're like, well, welcome to San Diego. And anyway, so then the hostess guy is trying to smooth things over, and he's just like, oh, like, my genuine apologies to everyone, blah, blah, blah. Sorry, I'm training the girl that told you that, like, where it's literally just her second day. And Karen would not have it. She was just like, well, maybe you should train her with that the procedure not to make promises, and that we were here first and to communicate better, like, blah, blah, blah. And oh yeah, it was hilarious. So then the hostess guy was trying to make it better, and obviously reading the room, like, yes, he probably felt bad because Jim and wife and 2 kids were obviously in line regardless of Karen spouting off that they were there first, and would probably want to help the people that are calm and collected and chill. But obviously, like, he was trying to put out a burning fire pretty much. And so then he was just like, okay, well, I'm going to seat you right now. Like, are you okay with the patio, blah, 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 window seat? And she's like, yes, that's fine, blah, blah, blah. Which, thank goodness, because the way that the restaurant is set up, it has kind of like an open, like, think food truck seating where the food truck window would be. And yeah, so anyway, so they were facing the street and just kind of pushing their aura and bad vibes as close to out to the street where they apparently live, laugh, love. And yeah, so that was nice just to see him being seated there versus probably over where everyone else would be seated. So anyway, we eventually got seated and the food was divine. We were recommended this place, and as the guy from the hotel said, it was one of Guy Fieri's most recommended hamburger stops, whatever. I'm not super familiar with his show. I think it's called like Diners and something Drive. I don't know. Anyway, but it was so good. Everything was obviously very fresh. Like, everyone always makes the argument that In-N-Out is always so much better in California, which ironically we did not go to the In-N-Out in California, which I kind of regret. But the reason why is because we had this massive, beautiful, glorious, very yummy hamburger day one. And so when I brought it up to my husband, he was like, yeah, I'm all right. And I'm like, but we'll never know. Everyone always talks about how much better it is and whatever. But okay, the weirdest thing that we came across day one and experienced every single day on our vacation was the tomato sauce. The tomato sauce, wow. The ketchup, which is tomato sauce, is so good there. I don't know why. Collectively, it tastes better there. And the weirdest thing is that all the ketchups that we had were all in different bottles, which I'm sure they just refill with the generic bulk ketchup, whatever that they get. But it was so flavorful and so much better. And I say that because the regular Heinz ketchup that we get in bulk from Costco and just general Heinz, whatever, that I've always kind of had in Utah, it's not as flavorful. It's like, I don't want to say watery, but it doesn't taste as like vibrant, and it's just kind of bleh, which makes me not really want it usually when I'm in Utah. So anyway, I tried it there. It was so good. I was downing it. And anyway, absolutely loved it. Go California and their ketchup and their fresh food, because truly the burger was fantastic. 10 out of 10 would recommend. The fries there were wedges, which normally I'm not a fan of, but they pulled it off and they were good. Oh, and their onion rings, super good. So yeah, if you ever want to go, San Diego, Hodad's. I think they have other locations too. Super yummy, 10 out of 10, literally, would recommend. After we did walk back out to the beach area, and it was so pretty. It was sunset and the sun was like bright red. I'm not sure if that was due to pollution or just clouds or whatever, but the sun was gorgeous and the vibes were immaculate. Sunset, pristine, everything was the perfect ending of our crazy first day in San Diego. So I was just looking at the videos and photos I took when we were there at that time. And I took a video of the menu because it said Hodad, like what the definition of Hodad is, which obviously most people wouldn't know that, whether it's a made-up actual name or not. Actually, I think it's probably a real dictionary word. But the definition is a non-surfer who spends time at beaches masquerading as a surfer. So I would say we were Hodads because we weren't pretending to surf. We were just being tourists. So there you go. So after Hodads, we spent the last little bit of our evening just by the beach. The ocean was beautiful. And I think in another life, I would be very happy to live by the beach. But based on what I was gathering from most pages regarding how San Diego locals felt, it's a little different. Like, yes, it's great, but it takes a very specific kind of person. I don't know. I like my suburb life, but it's wonderful for vacations and definitely a good time. So the next day, we were going to have our day one of San Diego Zoo. So when I looked into this trip, I was doing some pretty thorough research, and so we decided to go with San Diego Zoo versus the San Diego or Safari Park, I believe that's what it's called. From what I understand, both have animals. Safari Park is more built into their natural wildlife where they live. And so with that, it requires a lot more walking and traveling. And so with the research I was doing, I obviously wanted the easiest option regarding that we had a toddler. So we went with the Safari Zoo just because we knew that it would be a little easier just to kind of navigate with the stroller and whatnot. And so the other thing that I read and definitely would attest to, there was a lot of really good shaded areas as you were walking around. So that made it a little less hot too. We went on a pretty good day though. It wasn't like exorbitantly hot. It was actually less hot than Salt Lake was at the time, which was definitely a blessing because yeah, Utah was really hot apparently when we were gone. So we got really lucky. And so we had actually pretty good weather, especially with the humidity as well. But anyway, so we pulled up to Safari Park. Thankfully, the parking there is free. I don't know. It makes me sound like I'm a petty pitcher, which I totally am. I'll always go for a good deal and a coupon, but I just knew that with SeaWorld the following day, I believe was like $35 or $30 parking. And that was a little obnoxious, but yeah, thankfully San Diego Zoo was free parking. But we had gotten our tickets through, I believe, a sale because it was like Memorial Day when I bought them, or Memorial Day week or whatever. So that was nice as well. So definitely buy your tickets in advance. Usually, I would imagine they have a promotion. But we first walked in. I know there is a bus tour that you could do, which I saw a lot of people recommended it. And just so you could see like the layout of the park, which I was kind of leaning towards that initially, but then I saw them. They were double-decker style buses and open air, so no AC. And I talked to someone at the very beginning of the park, like an employee that worked there, and I said like, hey, what do you recommend? And she was a sweetheart in general. And she's just like, well, I'm not a fan of the bus tour just because it's super hot. Definitely don't sit on the top section of the bus, which I think normally most people would really enjoy to do that. But because it's just the sun beating down on you, it'd be really, really hot. And so my husband and I were just like, no, like, that's great advice. Like, let's just kind of start walking and we'll get a feel for it. And I was looking back, and even in the moment, we were very happy with it, our choice. We never ended up doing the bus ride, and then they also had little gondolas that go over the park, kind of like a chairlift kind of thing. And we didn't do that either. I asked my husband if he wanted to, but he wasn't, I don't know. I guess he didn't want to be stuck in a little carrier for a while. I don't know. I would have been fine either way, doing it, not doing it, but we didn't. And so we did do the bulk of the park just on foot, stroller walking. But I will say, I think people that make the comment that they prefer the bus initially, and then you can kind of target where you would like to go after, it is maybe that they're not the most athletically inclined, because my husband and we both go to the gym most days. And not saying that that's going to be a key indicator if you're going to survive this park or not, but just being motivated, fit, happy to do some hills, walk around, because it was pleasant. It wasn't that hard. And a lot of people, it just depends on your physical ability and how you just do day to day anyway. But yeah, I would just recommend the general walking in general. It was very pleasant, and the actual seeing of animals, they were very beautiful, very impressive. But I will say the number one thing was the plants. The plants were gorgeous. I don't remember if I mentioned this already or not, but the equity in the park is higher in their plants than in the animals. I read that online, and I think that is so cool. But the plants were absolutely gorgeous. It was like being transported into a rainforest. I was just gushing. I am unfortunately a plant mom. Unfortunately only for the fact that it takes a lot of time to water all the plants that I have now adopted into my life. And I love them so dearly, and I love watching them grow, but being a plant mom can be some hard work sometimes. But anyway, so the park was just gorgeous though. Like, the trees are so tall, and every type of plant, every corner. If you are a plant enthusiast at all, 10 out of 10 would recommend. I'm kind of sad that we didn't go to this safari park, because I would imagine we would see a lot more natural plants in their element. Obviously, these ones are a little catered, of course. I'm assuming to how they want things to be growing around there, but it was so beautiful. So our first stop I think the first animal that we saw were koalas, which was super cool because my husband actually lived in Australia for 2 years. And so he was very familiar with koalas, and we saw some really cute ones, and kookaburras. Actually, that was the first thing that we saw, I believe, the kookaburra bird. And my husband was very, he has no, he might not be the biggest fan of kookaburras because they're very loud, obnoxious birds, and you hear them all the time in Australia, or so he tells me. And so it was just funny to see him like react to them and see them again. He's like, you buggers, like, you're back. Anyway, but we saw the koalas next, and they were so cute. And there was one with a mom koala that was holding on to her baby. So cute. And with our toddler, we were pointing out all the babies and moms, like, look, that animal is mama or whatever. And he loved it. He was smiling and he had a good time, which makes me really sad in thinking about it in general, because I'm just like, one day, obviously he will not remember any of this, but I have lots of videos and documentation that he was there, which I think is definitely an advantage for my generation and anyone that has grown up with the use of a phone and taking and recording, which is just so different than how our parents had things. Like, yeah, they could take pictures and some videos and stuff, but it wasn't as so easy, and just can do it in half a second. So I look forward to sharing those with him throughout his life. All right, friends, this is Haley editing later. I am going to take this and turn it into a little 2-episoder because your girl talks a lot. But if you would do me the favor real quick, I'll let you listen to the next one here in a second. If you have a second to hit like, subscribe, I would really appreciate it and would love you forever. It means the world for me, and we would love to see this podcast grow and get even bigger, because then I can provide even better content for y'all. Feel free to keep on listening though, and go listen to part 2. See you there.